when you come to things like this, you hear people like Martin giving you, usually, he didn't do it tonight, but usually he'll give you 20 fantastic tools that you've never heard of before, and you'll go away with your head buzzing and with your notebook full of great ideas for things to try. But what I want to talk about for the next 73 minutes is, is your own learning. And I want to, it's a bit ostentatious perhaps, but I want to base it on the things that I've learned I'm a governor at a little primary school in Suffolk, by the way, and we've been Google Apps for Education for 4 years now. And in that time, my own behavior online has changed dramatically. And I wanted to talk to you about some of the things that I've picked up in that time. This is a real shame because it's beautiful, this thing, but yeah, you're just going to take my word for it and go and check it out, of course. So I wanted to look at I wanted to talk about these things that I think I have acquired as skills in my online behavior in the last, well, 20 years or so that I've been online, but in particular in the last 4 years since I've been working with the school. And first of all, the most important thing here is I think there are these learning dispositions or habits that I've acquired which seem to me to be a kind of functional skills for the third millennium, or at least for the next 5 years. And it strikes me that these are as applicable to a 4-year-old or a 14-year-old as they are to me. So the first of those functional skills I want to talk about is location. You'll see that they all end in ation. It's a bit contrived, but never mind. And so location is about finding the good stuff. It's how do you know how to search? I mean, search sounds like such an easy thing to do, but it's not actually. There are power searching tutorials that I would advise you look up in that Google offer, MOOCs, online courses on power searching, which are stunningly powerful. You know, how do you find out what that hairy caterpillar is? How do you find out where that photograph was taken from? How do you find out all kinds of things, which these days are a part of being literate in this digital Google era that we occupy? And, you know, as Martin said earlier, a lot of year 5 kids will have some of these skills already and may well be ahead of you in some of these, but that's no reason why you can't attempt to catch up. How do you find out? The second thing here is filtration or verification. How do you find out what the good stuff is? How do you know if it's good? I keep doing that, don't I? So these, if you check this out, you'll see there are half a dozen sites here, all of which look quite credible, but which are all spoof websites. One of them is an online pregnancy test, which I took, and we're very happy. And it says at the top, results 100% guaranteed, and then in tiny, tiny print at the bottom it says, we 100% guarantee to give you a result. We do not guarantee the veracity of that result. The bottom left, slightly more sinister, is a Martin Luther King website hosted by Stormfront, a white supremacist organization in the south of the US. The next essential skill is what I've labeled curation. Particularly as the world is moving away from static things like email, and even Google Reader is now disappearing, and we're moving to a streaming social way of working together, which is fantastic, but makes curation quite difficult. How do you find that tweet from 6 months ago? How do you find that link in a blog post that you thought was great? And making sense of the world, developing taxonomies for labeling and curating your stuff is a really important skill. Part of it is that you develop a network of trust. I used to think that I had to know about every Web2 tool there was. I don't anymore because I have Martin. And he doesn't realize this, but I've delegated that part of my activity to him. And if I want to know something about WordPress and blogging, I'll ask Chris Waugh, because he knows that stuff, and I don't need to anymore. And there's a proper term for this. It's sort of I can't remember, not association, but something like that, where you're able to hive off parts of your brain effectively to other people. Now, I'm using a variety of tools which work for me in this curation sense. One that I absolutely urge you to check out is clipboard.com, which allows you to, from a Chrome, I use Chrome, but it has extensions for other browsers as well, allows you to just hover over any interesting region of a website and then store that while supplying tags. Tags are the new black. You must tag everything you do. And that then will build up boards which can in turn be embedded in websites. So if I'm working on tectonic plates with Year 9 geography, I can have a web page which is showing the latest clips that I've gathered using Clipboard, and will constantly be up to date. And that kind of approach is going to be increasingly important. We're all too busy, despite the fact that you've taken the evening, 2 minutes, okay, despite the fact that you've taken the evening off and come here. You know, we've got too much to do in too little time, so I'm spectacularly chaotic in my personal life, but there are now tools that are helping me make more sense. Any.do, for instance, is a task manager. There are lots of these things, but Any.do is coming to my rescue all the time these days because it wires itself into my email, into my mobile devices, into my web activity, and it reads my emails and suggests what I might need to do as a follow-up activity, which is a godsend for me. Sorry about that. Let's just try and get back here. The smartest person in the room. You can't see that, but that's what it says. Smartest person in the room is the room. We're all smarter together than we are individually. And there are now possibilities for collaborating inside and outside your schools with the PLN, the Personal Learning Network, which is the reason you're here. It's because you're extending your PLN. But that's just becoming a necessary way of working now. I routinely involve other people in what previously would have been my individual workflow. Digital makers, big theme of the moment, creation. And it's not just about making new stuff. Actually, mashing things up and stealing and cannibalizing is a really important skill. So my tools happen to be all online. I don't use any PC or Mac anymore, so it's all based in the web. But that's completely up to you. I'm not going to make it, Martin, but I'll do my best. Show and tell the world. Sharing things once you're happy with them is a prerequisite. And unfortunately, I'm sorry if you're primary school teachers, Comic Sans and clip art is no longer good enough. You're going to have to learn how to use the new presentation possibilities. So whether you're talking about bottom right there is Chris's edutronic.net, fabulous looking blog and whole resource area. There are plenty of ways of presenting data visualization. Throw it now, will you? Yeah. Data visualization, infographics, these are skills you need. HTML5, the tool I'm using to show this presentation, is an absolutely essential set of skills that your kids, if not you, will need to know. Lastly, you'll be glad to hear, lastly, publishing. There's no point in you doing all this great stuff and keeping it to yourself. So you've got to get it out there. And a strange thing has happened that people's credibility online now is determined by how much they're prepared to share. How wealthy you are in the online community is determined by how much you put up there. And it took me a long time to get used to that, because I used to think that I would squirrel things away and steal them and run back to my nest with them. That doesn't work anymore. You've got to get it up there and get it out. And in that process, workflow becomes important. We've already heard it mentioned a couple of times. But that top workflow, for instance, means that in our school website, in our primary school website, we can put it, it's a Google Apps thing because that's what I know best. You can, you can make an announcement. It appears on the front page of the website. It sends an email to parents because we're using RSS triggers to do that. It sends a tweet out on Twitter simultaneously for people that are following us in that way. And using 86444 on Twitter, you can make it send a text to those people who don't follow Twitter. So we're getting it's a write once, reach many kind of strategy. And that's enough. Do check it out, tmessex.edintheclouds.com. Thanks.